Hi there, and welcome to That's Why. So, in today's edition, I'm going to be talking about how you can use paper plate portraits to help students understand some of the mechanisms behind racism, bias, prejudice, and stereotypes in a very easy way. I shouldn't say an easy way, but it helps kids to understand it better. And also, it's going to help kids have those healthy discussions about how we can stand up for our community members and how we can stand up against racism as well. So, thank you for joining me on That's Why. Okay, so this activity I'm going to share with you is by Vanessa D'Egidio, who is a teacher in New York. And in her activity, she talks about paper plate portraits. And even though I'm going to give you an overview in this video, I strongly suggest that you check out the link, her link below, where she really describes this activity, like the discussions that you can have before, the discussions that you can have after, and also some of the potential questions and things that will come up from this. So all you really need is a paper plate. And this is something that you can have your kids do at home with you. You can also have your kids do it in the classroom, and this also works well as a digital activity for online. So in this activity, what you're going to ask students to do is think about what prejudice is. And if you think about the word prejudiced, it's prejudging, right? It's made out of two words. We prejudge. Oftentimes we prejudge somebody based on what they look like, the color of their skin, the way that they talk, the way that they act, sometimes by what they do. However, our judgment, our preconceived notions of that person quite oftentimes are not accurate. Now, to help students understand this, you want to start that discussion with what are some things when people see you that they might assume about you. What does it look like on the outside? And then what you have kids do is, on the outside of the plate, the bump of the plate, you have them draw a portrait of themselves, but have it so that there's enough room where they can leave spaces for statements or observations that people may have about them, judging them from the outside. And then on the inside of the plate, what you're going to have students do is draw a heart. You can give them the option of coloring it in or not. And then you can have them say, okay, so what are the words that describe who you truly are from the inside? And share those on the inside of the plate. Once you have kids create these portraits, then you can have them share with each other. If you're doing this in a class, you could do a gallery walk. If you are doing this online, you can have all the kids share what their outside looks like, and then they can individually share what their inside looks like. So I'll give you an example. So just to let you know, I am not the greatest artist. I haven't drawn a portrait of myself in years, but here's my first stab at it, okay? So here's me. And when people first meet me, especially if I haven't like opened my mouth and said anything yet, and like they've never seen any videos or anything, they oftentimes think I'm timid. Some people think I'm weak. In fact, I've also oftentimes been, bullied because I'm small, and so people think if they can, make themselves bigger, I'm gonna actually like, cow down or something like that. It's weird. And then this word foreigner, because I'm Asian, a lot of times I cannot tell you how many times people have actually said, "Oh wow, your English is really good," or "Where are you from?" In other words, they perceive that I'm a foreigner, even though I have spent my entire life, well, nearly my entire life in the United States, so yeah, thanks. Your English is really good too. Anyways, this is what people perceive. These are their prejudices, their biases of me on the outside before they know who I am. Here are some things about who I truly am. I'm a rebel. Yeah, I always talk about rebel teaching. I always talk about rebelling against the broken systems that no longer serve us. In particular, I talk about education systems that are no longer serving our students or our teachers. I'm a rebel. I'm also fierce. I have always been fierce. Um, I remember a friend of mine when I told him that, oftentimes people perceive me as this small, shy, weak individual. He said, I would have never imagined any of those words to describe me because I tend to be fierce. I tend to speak up. I'm also the one that's known to be the person who asks the stupid question in the middle of a conference, just because, I want to know. I'm ready to learn. So I ask questions, but I'm fierce. I'm fierce and I'm fiercely passionate about teachers. I'm fiercely passionate about my students. And then I'm also, as you've probably guessed, pretty outspoken. And then I'm loving. I'm about creating a loving planet. I'm about creating change for the world. So these kind of describe me. Now, when you have these plates, it's not the actual plate activity that is the most significant thing about this. The most significant thing about this are the conversations that you have with your students about this. Like, for instance, Vanessa talks about in her lesson plan how boys might be perceived as strong and, masculine and, even sometimes a bully or mean just because of their size or their appearance. And then on the other side, on the inside, they may describe themselves as loving, as caring individuals, as, friendly people. And so this is really important to unpack because when we teach kids to be anti-racist, when we teach equity and diversity and inclusivity, one component of that is to help our students shape their identities in positive ways that are empowering to them. And the way you do that is by helping them examine what people say about them on the outside and what they feel and who they are on the inside. And then having the conversation of, if people see you like this, it's important that you don't become this if you're really this. If that makes sense. Because, you know, oftentimes when people stuff you into these scenarios, the worst thing that can happen, and oftentimes it does, is that we follow those scenarios because that's what people expect us to be. And it's really important, even as young children, to help them with that voice, to help them say, no, I'm not that person. I'm actually this person, right? And to be able to, speak for themselves, but also maybe speak, I shouldn't say maybe, they should also speak for others who, have been disempowered. If they see that something's wrong, then they should, be taught that they have a choice of being able to speak up for it. Anyways, that's a conversation for another time. But what I'm saying is use these paper plates to help think about how your kids are shaping their own identities based on how they feel on the inside, what they love about themselves, what they, know about themselves. And then have that conversation about how is that different than how people perceive you on the outside, right? And that's a great segue into, okay, well, then what's wrong with prejudice? What's wrong with racism? What's wrong with people who are making these very unfair judgments of us based on our appearance and not actually spending time learning and finding out who we are? Anyways, thank you so much for watching this edition of That's Why. If you really like my channel, please subscribe in the link below. I release a video every week on things that you may find helpful with activities to teach, theories, stuff to think about learning, and all kinds of other great stuff. I'll see you soon. Bye now.